I've been offering a whole series of messages on the life goal, the universal life goal that is called artha, which means wealth or prosperity. So in the ancient Vedic system, we have 4 great goals of life. The first is dharma, the goal to live a life of higher purpose. Not just mark time while we're here, but to live life in a spiritual way, with a spiritual focus, having the great goal to awaken and learn how to cooperate with the infinite. Well, it turns out that the second goal, called artha, is wealth or to prosper. And it's really tied to dharma, to living with higher purpose and doing what is ours to do. Because in order to fulfill our purpose in life, we need resources. We need to know how to attract the resources and the support that we need to do what we're here to do, right? That's sort of a little, and it was the reason, one of the reasons I wrote the book about prosperity as part of our spiritual path, because I think we come to the spiritual path and the idea of living with higher purpose is very compelling to us. We feel the soul call to live in a higher way. But then when it comes to how we connect that with the rest of our life, like how we make ends meet, how we have work, how we thrive, how does that all come together? And in accordance with this ancient teaching tradition, it does come together, and it's supposed to, because thriving is the way that we fulfill our potential. So it's very important that we thrive. And it's also important, it turns out, which is the third goal, that we enjoy life while we're at it. So it's not about wealth for its own sake, trying hard to accumulate a lot of things. It's about learning how to thrive and to prosper and to succeed and to enjoy our life along the way. So we want to be able to cultivate a life that has heart and meaning. So dharma, artha, kama is that third goal that is pleasure, or enjoying life. The fourth goal is moksha, or liberation of consciousness. Don't forget, you're here to be enlightened in this lifetime. So those are the 4 great goals, and I have been speaking in this series about artha, the goal to prosper and to live a truly fulfilled life. And I'm at the conclusion of that particular series, and so I want to give you the concluding part of the message today in the beginning of the new year, which is the big secret, the goal of wealth as a spiritual goal in our life is actually to become wealth itself. To become wealth itself, and by that it means to become a prospering presence. So to get out of the mode of life where we're struggling to get by, trying to make ends meet, but we come into being able to draw from the fountain of divine resources within us and to be a person in the world who inspires and supports and uplifts others. So that is the great goal, and the new year is a beautiful time to be thinking about that and to really orient ourselves in that direction. I mentioned that we had a retreat this weekend. We're wrapping it up with this talk here this morning, and for those also who will be with us this afternoon. Paramahansa Yogananda said, with the opening of the new year, all the closed portals of limitation will be thrown open. With the opening of the new year, all the closed portals of limitation will be thrown open, and I shall move through them to vaster fields, whereby my worthwhile dreams of life will be fulfilled. So there is, at the coming of every new year, a collective consciousness that is opening to possibility. It's just natural for us. You know, we think, here's a new year. It's a fresh slate. It hasn't been 2019 before that I remember, right? So we have this sense of, this is something new. It's a new year. What could be possible in this new year? What stretches before us in this new year? So the mindset in the collective is about new possibility, and the portals are opening in the mindset. But the question for us, of course, is, well, how do we begin a new year, and how do we enter what Yogananda called this vaster field that is free of limitation? How do we enter our new year in that way? You know, the ordinary way to do it is to feel a sense of resolve, right? About, okay, it's time. We're going to do it. So resolve, and then comes resolution, right? And we see that. Although there are so many statistics out about the failure of resolutions that most of us don't trust them anymore, not only because of scientific research, but because of our own experience, right? You've made a few, and you've had a few fall by the wayside, I suspect. So the question that I've been pondering is, there is a sense that the portals of limitation open, and there is a greater sense of possibility. How do we enter that, and how do we enter that space that is free of limitation? Would you like to know? It turns out that all of the wisdom traditions, all the great religions and spiritual traditions tell us how to do that. It's all right there. And they all have prayers. They all have a way in which they say, begin in the name and begin in the power. In other words, turn away from the limiting tendency of mind, trying to figure out what you're going to do in this new year and how it's going to be, and trying to map it out. The wisdom traditions say, no, before you do any of that, not that that's not useful, but before you do any of that, begin in the name and in the power of the One. So we find this in all the traditions. The most sacred, beautiful prayers start that way. Like, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. So, you know, our source, which is perfect and includes all that is, we welcome you now. So we welcome this change in our consciousness. We're going to affirm and acknowledge that which is holy, meaning complete, entire, everywhere, all that is. Holy name, the one reality. And we're going to shift our attention there. Move our attention there. Bismillah, Ir-Rahman, Ir-Rahim. We begin in the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. We begin by turning our attention there. And the Gayatri Mantra, Om, Bhur, Bhuva, Swaha, Tat Savitur Varenyam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Dhyo Yona Prachodayat. That which is of the earth, the atmosphere, the heavens, I meditate upon that. May that inspire my mind, my thoughts. Let me begin there. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Ehad. Listen, hear, O Israel. Our Lord, our God, our Lord is one. One reality. So start right there. Turn your attention to that reality which surrounds you and indwells you. Don't try to think so much about what you will do. Begin first with this turn. There's a poem from Rumi that I think will help us with this orientation. It's called Two Kinds of Intelligence. There are two kinds of intelligence. One acquired, as a child in school memorizes facts and concepts from books and from what the teacher says, collecting information from the traditional sciences as well as from new sciences. With such intelligence, you rise in the world. You get ranked ahead or behind others in regard to your competence in retaining information. Remember this? You stroll with this intelligence in and out of fields of knowledge, getting always more marks on your preserving tablets. There is another kind of tablet, one already completed and preserved inside you. A spring overflowing its spring box, a freshness in the center of the chest. The other intelligence does not turn yellow or stagnate. It's fluid, and it doesn't move from outside to inside through the conduits of plumbing learning. This second knowing is a fountainhead from within you moving out. Just remember, when you're in union, you don't have to fear that you'll be drained. The command comes to speak, and you feel the ocean moving through you. Then comes, be silent, as when the rain stops and the trees in the orchard begin to draw moisture up into themselves. Words of Rumi, translated by Coleman Barks. Two kinds of intelligence, and also another piece of a poem from Feeling the Shoulder of the Lion. So, two kinds of intelligence, two ways to begin the new year. Two kinds of resolutions. One begins in the head, and the other begins in the heart. Search the divine book of your heart, of your own life, to discern what is ready to express through you. What is ready in your life? What divine thing wants to happen in your life in this year? What is already knocking at your heart to be expressed? Our life reveals itself in that way with the divine yearnings that are ready to be expressed. But I think often we don't go there to claim that nudge for vaster fields because we don't know how to do it. We don't know how to bring forth what the divine is calling us to bring forth. There are things that we know how to do with our mind that we resolve to do. And that's one kind of intelligence. And that can be useful. But I'm talking about allowing your life to be pulled by a divine yearning that you don't quite know how to accomplish at that level. You didn't learn that in school. So it's opening up to a divine yearning that's yours. You know it. It shows itself to you. You feel it. And there's a time in your life when you become ready for it. And so this opening up these portals of limitation are the ways in which we have said, no, I'm not ready. We open up these portals of limitation and we go into vaster fields by this communion with the divine and really, what would we call it? Surrender. To say, I'm ready. I don't know how that will happen in my life, but this is the year I'm ready for that. Do you understand this? It's really edgy. It's really wonderful. It's really awesome. This is the opening into vaster fields out of the book of our own life, out of what is calling within our hearts. So I have approached the new year this way several times in my life. I don't know that I do it every year, probably in some way, but there are some times when I feel this nudge, to grow. And so I have developed a phrase that is a fill in the blank. And that phrase is, this will be the year that you fill in your blank. This will be the year that. This will be the year that I find healing. This will be the year that I thrive in my work. This will be the year that I experience love in my life. So you take that, which is that divine yearning within you. Say, this will be the year that you step into it. You don't know how it's going to happen. You don't know how to make it happen. If you did, it already would have happened. So this will be the year that is like a prayer. It's turning to the one to say, I'm willing, I surrender. Show me the way. And my experience has been when I have taken the courageous leap, and I suggest you do it on that thing, your thing, whatever that is, and not a whole long list. It's not that kind of thing. But you have that kind of turning to the necessity for divine grace in your life. Do you like this? What is the longing within you? If all the closed portals of limitation are thrown open, what would you bring forth? What would you have? What would you experience? When all the closed portals are thrown open, what will you bring forth? Now, the closed portals of limitation are thrown open. What are you bringing forth? One year, practicing this, I said, this was before we moved here, I said, this will be the year that the center finds its home. Now, you are sitting in one of those vaster fields of divine inspiration. And perhaps you've heard the story, or you've read the story in this book. There was no money for that home, but it was time. It had been time for some time. And I suspect that there's something in your life that's the same, that it's been time for some time. And you're ready for that breakthrough in 2019 into vaster fields of possibility. So it is a matter of allowing yourself to be open to the radical activity of divine grace. So I'm going to close with, on this chapter of becoming wealth. It's a critical leap of faith to know that God has already released our good in harmony with the divine plan. Relying on spiritual resources is recognizing this support as constant, unfailing, and unconditional. Paramahansa Yogananda observed, man's forgetfulness of his divine resources is the root cause of all other forms of suffering. We may not see that support outwardly. We may even wonder when we will. Yet our strength is built upon knowing it is present and will become visible when the time is right. Wisdom, guidance, and creativity all pour forth from the spiritual resources within us at the perfect time. So, there's a question that, or really a proposition that concludes the Bhagavad Gita that I conclude the book with. Arjuna starts off his journey. He's confused. He doesn't really want to do it, and he doesn't know how it's going to work out. He has a similar problem, that we have facing the immensity of fulfilling our divine destiny, right? So his divine friend Krishna comes and explains it all to him. And then at the end, he says to him, you have what you need. Now it's up to you. Do as you will. Do as you choose. So the question is, what will we choose? Will we choose to thrive? Will we choose to prosper? Will we choose to be moved by divine love that is speaking within our own hearts? So Arjuna is ready. As he puts it, my delusion is destroyed. I stand free from all doubt. And nothing moves me now except your word, except this knowing in his own heart. Nothing will move me now but higher knowledge, nothing but inspired, intuitive wisdom, nothing but the inclination of the heart toward divine love will move me now. Free from self-doubt, from worry, or the opinions of others, the shackles of fear no longer bind me. Never again will I be tossed about by restless desire or sink down under the weight of despair. I rise, I awaken, I prosper, and I thrive. What will this new year be for us?